Hello, folks. Here we are, another podcast. We're at Westside Barbell right now. We got a lot of athletes here. I've got power lifters. I've got fighters. We're going to demonstrate why we use these exercises. This can change a gym. This can change your lifestyle.
On March 24th of this year, Louie Simmons passed away, leaving behind an incredible legacy of strength. Most people talk about his contribution to strength in terms of what he's done for training protocols, conjugate method, improving powerlifters, but there's something that Louie's done that I think a lot of people kind of overlook sometimes, and that's on the equipment he's invented in order to get people to the strength levels that he's gotten to, and he's gotten his gym and others across the world to. So today, I want to talk about 5 of his best contributions, in my opinion, most significant contributions to strength in terms of the equipment that he's made. And the first one I want to talk about, and the one that I think most people recognize, is the reverse hyper. Hey guys, it's Coop from Garage Gym Reviews, and today we're going to talk about some of Louie Simmons' contributions to strength, equipment invention-wise. Now I'm going to put links to all of these products in the bio. None of them are going to be affiliate links because we don't want to earn something off of this, but these are all companies that Westside Barbell has specifically partnered with, and I know give royalties back to Westside. So if you'd like to check out and obviously buy any of these, you can, but I just want you to know up front, these are not affiliate links. I never, unfortunately, got to meet Louie Simmons in person. I did talk to some of his team at times about some of the equipment they've created, but the one that I think he's most known for, and the one that I think broadly people give credit to him for, is this one right here. This is the reverse hyper. The story goes with Louie Simmons is he was a powerlifter who had broken his back, and in order to basically rehab himself back under the bar, he figured out a way to create something that increased strength in the posterior chain while also allowing blood flow to the lower vertebrae. So it's like this perfect mix of strength of the posterior chain while also providing rehab. And the reverse hyper has been used throughout the entire world and has really had a big impact on many different people. Now I know there's all sorts of controversy around who created this, around patents and all sorts of things like that, but I will say, regardless of whether you think that Louie Simmons invented this or not, Louie Simmons is really the one who popularized it and brought it to market so many people could be benefited by it. Now personally, I have a reverse hyper in pretty much every garage gym iteration I've had. Everything from the Scout reverse hyper, which is a small foldable one, to the RH2 bigger one, as well as some like the Franken hyper from Sorinex, which I believe are partnered with in some capacity to Louie Simmons and Westside Barbell. Now, although this is the one that most people know him by, the reality is Louie Simmons has done so much for the strength world in so many different aspects through other equipment he's created. Yes, this is I would say his probably magnum opus, but this isn't the only thing he's created. So let's talk about some of the other inventions he's created for the strength world. Now, although the reverse hyper is one of the most significant from popularity that Louie Simmons created, Louie Simmons has brought a lot to market. And the second thing I want to talk to is something that I don't know if he necessarily invented, but he definitely popularized. Louie Simmons is one of those guys who kind of worked in the underground, gave so much to the strength community without asking for a ton. I've heard so many stories of people that have said they called Westside Barbell, spoke directly to Louie, and just talked about strength training without asking for anything in return. And one of the things that he popularized and talked to nearly everybody about, it seems was accommodating resistance. And accommodating resistance is obviously something that's used in powerlifting and has been popularized with the conjugate method, but it's also something that's been used in GPP training and just general athletics. And we see as kind of a staple and something that people use just worldwide to increase strength. Accommodating resistance is essentially adding bands and chains to a barbell to increase the load and add accommodating resistance. So accommodating resistance is basically the farther away you get from the point, it gets heavier, or the farther away you get from something, it gets lighter. So sometimes it's adding bands, and they had their Westside deadlift platform that add bands to the bar, and then the farther away you get from it, it gets heavier, or same thing with chains. And this is something that obviously we see used in powerlifting and at Westside Barbell, but has really been used everywhere. Bands are so popular in home gyms now. Chains are very popular. And I would say the biggest driving force behind those being so popular is Louie Simmons of Westside Barbell, and him basically bringing to market and reading old Russian books and all these different platforms and synthesizing them into a program that then other people can follow, and testing it at Westside Barbell and then spreading it to the rest of the world through his giving of information to others. So accommodating resistance is like a big deal and something that Louie Simmons popularized. But the next piece of equipment is something that we see more and more in home gyms. We see them in a lot of commercial gyms too. We see them followed by powerlifters and just, again, GPP, general training, and that is the belt squat. Now, I'm not here to say that he was the first one to strap something around his hips and then do a squat, but there are many photos and many people that are around at the time that said, like, Louie Simmons was one of the early guys to help popularize and bring to market the belt squat. In fact, there's old photos of people like Dave Tate training in at Westside Barbell, of them basically standing on this like plywood platform with a hole cut in the middle and having a hip belt squat attached to them with some sort of loading pin and plates in between their legs and doing belt squats. This was before any machines or their ATP that they created or the Rogue Rhino that they partnered with or any of the other machines that have come out that are belt squats. Like, this was one of the early days for belt squats, way before they were popularized, where they were using it to just add weight without putting a spinal load on. It allows people to continue to strengthen their lower body without having to do something that they literally can't do, like put load on their spine or shoulder issues. So the belt squat, I think, is a significant contribution to strength, and I give it, by and large, to Louie Simmons bringing it to market. So the third machine that I want to talk about that Louie Simmons has invented, and one that I don't hear a lot of talk about it. And one reason I think I don't hear a lot of talk about it is because, one, it's very unique, and two, it's very expensive. I have not used one. I've been interested ever since I heard about it. In fact, I've messaged people that have used it, that were testing it, just to get their opinion on it, because I've been so interested in it. And that is the static dynamic developer. And if I say that word and you're like, man, I've never even heard of that, I wouldn't be that surprised, because I haven't seen it gain market traction, but that doesn't mean that it's not an influential piece. So the static dynamic developer allows you to push against a bar and essentially do an isometric. So you're pushing against it as hard as you can, it's not going anywhere. It then allows somebody external to you have this button, and allows them to basically provide movement into the system. So they press it, brakes release, and then the user pushes against it as hard as they can. It's probably one of, at least from what I've read online from him, is it's one of his greatest contributions in his opinion. It's a really cool idea. I'd love to see more people talk about it. I hope it continues to gain traction. I know Rogue Fitness sells one, although it's $12,000, $13,000. So hopefully someday I can use it. But if you have used it, let me know in the comments, because I'd just love to hear your general thoughts. Now, the last one, and I want to be clear, this isn't the last piece of equipment he's invented or known for. There's other ones out there like the Westside Plyo Swing, the MR19, and others, but another one that I think is significant and one that I think we've seen a lot of people find benefit from is the inverse curl. And the inverse curl is a way to progressively overload a Nordic curl. I think that's the best way to think of it. So a Nordic curl is basically, you put your feet under something, you're facing forward, you go down with stiff legs and then come back up. And you're using your hamstrings and your glutes to basically bring you back up. In most people's opinion, it's the best evidence of hamstring strength and hamstring health. Those that can do that, it's very, very impressive, but it's very hard, especially for people that have a lot of upper body mass and strength, to do that, because it's just a very hard movement. So one way that he invented a way to increase volume in the movement, as well as get people to be able to do the movement and weight the movement, is the inverse curl. Now the inverse curl, I don't see a ton of them in home gyms. I really think there should be more. I think the inverse curl could be better than a standing leg curl or a seated hamstring curl, because it allows you to use your own body weight, but also progressively overload a movement that is very healthy for knee health and also hamstring health and just athletics in general. I do think that the inverse curl is one of his best, in my opinion, inventions that he's brought to the strength game. Okay, so there's just some of the equipment he's invented. There's others out there. If there's other pieces of equipment that Louie Simmons is known for, I'd love to hear them in the comments. If you've talked to Louie Simmons, I think you should sound off in the comments. I've read in other videos people talking about his death. There's just a lot of people talking about great things that Louie has done in individual conversations that may not be public. So if you have any of those, I know I would love to read them, and I'm sure others would as well. So drop them in the comments. If there's something specific to your training that you've gained benefit from Louie Simmons Westside Barbell, I'd love to hear it as well. This is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. We'll see you next time. Peace.